That's a good question. Richard Dennis was the first person that posed that question over 20 years ago, and to prove his point that he felt that traders were made, not born, he started the Turtle Project. And just a few comments about trading now versus trading then. Trading back then was pit trading, and of course you could get away with a much more intuitive type of style. There were born traders then, and they could rely on all different types of sensory. But I firmly believe that you can take anybody, give them a rule set, and as long as they are of the nature that they have an even temperament and therefore can consistently follow a program, absolutely traders are made nowadays. And it's just a matter of spending the time to develop your own rule set that works for you and then following it consistently. It's certainly not a function of IQ.
So there's your answer from someone who has been trading professionally since the 80s. Traders are made. Take anybody with an even temperament, hand them a rule set, ask them to follow it consistently, and the rest is time on the screen. And she doesn't soften it at the end either. She closes by telling you it isn't even a function of IQ. Welcome to the psychology of successful traders and how they think. This is a series, not a course, and the idea behind it is simple. I take one question that traders genuinely argue about, and instead of giving you my opinion on it, I put the answers of people who have done this for decades, side by side, so you can hear where they agree and where they don't. Episode 1 is about the things sitting underneath everything else you will ever learn. Mindset. And the mindset question that splits professionals more than any other is this one. Are traders born or are they made? You just heard Linda Raschke answer made. In a moment, Larry Williams quietly contradicts her. A psychologist who works inside hedge funds complicates both of them. And a fourth trader refuses to answer at all. So, if this kind of content helps you, take a second to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so the next lessons reach you the moment they go live. And feel free to share in the comments which topics you would like us to explore in future videos. And if you want to support the channel on a deeper level, consider becoming a member to unlock exclusive content and help keep these lessons coming. You'll also find links to our trusted partners in the description below. Using them costs you nothing, and it directly helps the channel keep producing free educational content like this. Let's start with Larry Williams, because he isn't theorizing here, and that distinction matters. 50 years of trading, books translated into every major language, and something like 100,000 traders and investors he has worked with. So when he answers this, he isn't describing himself or his own path. He's describing a sample, and what he found in that sample had nothing to do with intelligence.
I worked with probably 100,000 traders and investors literally throughout the world. My books are in every major language of the world. And I really looked and worked with these traders to see what separates, what makes a really successful winning trader. And you know what I think I've seen in all of these people? They're absolute survivors. Some are not what you would call particularly intelligent. They're not bright. They're not gifted mathematicians. They may have a background like mine in journalism and writing, or they might be a car mechanic. Or they come from all walks of life, but they just have that strong desire to survive. And I don't know quite where that comes from. I don't know quite how to teach that to you or how you can become that, but it's something I think you need to have as a model. It's all about survival, not losing your money, staying in the game, not betting big, so of course you can stay in the game, but you increase your ability to survive and you're going to become a much better trader or investor.
Go back to one line in there, because it's the most honest sentence in this video. I don't quite know how to teach that to you. He found the trait that separated the people who lasted, then admitted on camera that he can't hand it over. Now, hold that against Linda. She said take anybody with an even temperament. Larry is saying the temperament is the whole game. Which raises the obvious question. Is there an actual answer here, or are we just collecting strong opinions from people who happen to survive? Brett Steenbarger is the closest thing we have to one. He's a clinical psychologist who works with traders inside hedge funds, and he's the only person here answering this as research rather than impression. Fair warning, it won't comfort either side.
There are important capacities that are inborn. that we see in developmental research. And so people tend to have, as a result of their heredity, their constitution, higher degrees of capacity for focus. They may have higher intelligence, and those can be relevant to success in financial markets. What is most important is for each person to identify what are their particular strengths, cognitively, in terms of personality, and how can they leverage those strengths vis-a-vis strategies in financial markets.
I see.
I do think there are people who have a high level of distractibility and a low level of frustration tolerance, who are going to be, and who may have mood problems. They're going to be challenged to be successful in financial markets in ways that other people won't. And so heredity is relevant here. But within the traits and characteristics that we're born with, where are our strengths and how can we develop those as fully as possible and apply them to strategies and markets that speak to those strengths? So if they are not, let's say, a fast thinker, they could still be a successful investor. Okay, right. So it depends on the patterning of strengths that people have. Many times traders fail because they're not playing to their strengths. Again, they're not playing the right game, so to speak. So someone who is very talented, let's say as a weightlifter, if they tried to succeed as a baseball player or as a ballet dancer, they would feel like a miserable failure.
So he didn't pick a side. He changed the question. Yes, some capacities are inborn. The capacity for focus, tolerance for frustration, how fast you process under pressure. And no, none of them decides whether you make money. What decides it is whether you found the game those traits are good at. Nobody watches a weightlifter fail at ballet and concludes he has no talent. They say he picked the wrong sport. Which brings us to the last voice, and the one who refuses the question completely. Tom Hougaard trades his own money in serious size, and he's been unusually public about the days it went badly, rare in an industry built on screenshots of winners. He doesn't answer born, and he doesn't answer made. Listen to the first thing he says, because it's the opposite of what you'd expect.
You see, I've accepted with every inch of my being, every DNA, that I have absolutely no idea if the next trade will be the best trade of my life or if it will be a small loss. No idea. Perhaps it's the moment now where I tell you that every single time that I go into a trade, I will go for the jugular. I will go in thinking this is going to be an amazing trade, and I will want to squeeze it for every point that I can get out of it. I always get quite annoyed and disappointed when I get stopped out and it turns out to be a nothing. I know with every fiber of my body that if I'm not disciplined and prepared mentally, I can experience what I experienced during the flash crash of 2010, where I, on paper, was technically broke. All the money that I have made over the last decade of trading were eventually wiped from existence. And the only reason, by the grace of God or whoever else was looking after me that day, the broker's automated stop system didn't kick in. And those of you who remember that day, and some of us remember it very vividly, you'll know that the flash crash actually only lasted a few seconds, the really, really bad part of it. It was still pretty bad, but it recovered relatively quickly, followed down by another attempt, and then we started climbing up till near break even. And on paper, I was wiped, but when all was said and done, I had lost 2,000 pounds. And I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that was the happiest 2,000 pounds I have ever lost. I'm not a fortune teller, meaning I don't go into the trading day thinking I know what's going to happen. And I get quite annoyed when I speak to my friends and colleagues. You know, they're great people, but it annoys me when people say, Dow's headed for 30,000, I know it. So, well, then put the position on, but don't bore me with it. I want to have a complete free mind. I don't want to be told what you think, because it will sway me. I want to have a blank canvas when I trade. Because I know that in order for me to avoid being like the 90%, I need to think completely the opposite of the 90%. And the 90%, they're engaged with targets. Oh, the Dow is going to go here, and then it's going to go here, and Elliott wave analysis perpetuates those things. I don't want to do that.
He opens by telling you he has accepted, with every inch of his being, that he has no idea what the next trade will do, and then says he goes for the jugular anyway. That isn't a contradiction. That's the whole answer. A decade of profit wiped out on paper in minutes, and what saved him wasn't a forecast. That's Larry's survivor, described from the inside. So put all 4 answers next to each other, and the same thing shows up in every one of them. Nobody mentioned an indicator. Nobody mentioned a strategy, a time frame, or a setup that works. Linda said temperament. Larry said the desire to survive. Brett said fit. Tom said accepting that you don't know what happens next. 4 different words, and none of them is sold in a course. But here's where they genuinely split, and I won't smooth it over, because the disagreement is the useful part. Linda says you can take almost anybody and build a trader. Larry says the decisive piece is the piece he cannot teach. Brett says heredity is real, but it isn't the verdict. It just tells you which game to play. All 3 are right about different things. So maybe the useful version isn't, was I born for this? Maybe it's the 2 questions Steenbarger and Hougaard leave you holding. Am I playing a game that fits the way I think? And have I accepted that I'll never know what the next trade does? Next in this series, we do exactly the same thing with something far more practical, where professionals actually put their stop loss. And before you go, do something for yourself. Go and find these people. Linda Raschke has traded professionally since the 80s, wrote Street Smarts, and sits in Jack Schwager's Market Wizards. Larry Williams won the World Cup Championship of Futures Trading and gave this industry the Williams %R, an indicator half the platforms out there still ship by default. Brett Steenbarger spent a career as a clinical psychologist, working with traders inside hedge funds and proprietary firms, and wrote Trading Psychology 2.0 and The Daily Trading Coach. Tom Hougaard trades his own money at high stakes and wrote Best Loser Wins. Wherever we could find an official channel for any of them, we've linked it in the description, so you can go to the source instead of a clip. And we link them for a reason. Not one of these 4 has the perfect system, and neither do we. Our job here isn't to sell you a method. It's that you end up profitable, whatever methodology you decide to follow. So take what fits the way you think, leave what doesn't, and keep growing by listening to the biggest voices this market has produced. I'll see you in the next one, trader.
So, trader, if this video brought you more clarity, like it, subscribe, and turn on notifications so the next lessons reach you. And tell me in the comments what you want me to cover next. And if you want to go deeper, you can become a member of the Com Lucro Trader community right here on YouTube. It unlocks exclusive content, early access, and extra tools for your development, while directly supporting the channel. You'll also find our trusted partners linked in the description. Using those links costs you nothing and helps us keep producing this kind of educational content. And remember, the mission of the Com Lucro channel is simple. We help traders build clarity, confidence, and structure, so every decision is made with discipline and intention. Here you'll find complete courses built as a true trading masterclass. Liquidity, market structure, higher time frame analysis, and supply and demand. Always focused on reading price and executing with a professional mindset. We also cover trading psychology, risk management, and long-term consistency. Because trading isn't just about charts. It's about mindset, discipline, and execution over time. Our main courses include Smart Money Concepts, ICT, Technical Analysis, trading psychology, and Wyckoff. Alongside that, we share insights from respected traders whose work helps you understand how markets really behave. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.